Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about goal setting here with your farm operation and also family. Chris, you want to get this to lamp?
Yep.
What's that?
We're advertising for that Hanson Family Farms.
I know, I was going to say we're getting some free,
Or else we gotta charge you.
getting some free advertising there, yes. You guys strategically want to wear your bull shirt or whatever and sit there next week. Okay, here we're on here. Before I get into that, I would like you to refer to page 1-29 in your three-ring binders. That is our Getting to Know You page, and we will need to have you fill that out, not right now, but for when you come back next time. Very important thing there is where I have starred is your FSA loan officer. Now, once again, like Jessica was saying, that's not your CED. That's the guy or gal that is your loan person for your, might be a tri-county or 4 or 5 county area.
Will, can you zoom in on here? Zoom your deal in. There you go. Perfect. Maybe not quite so.
Then I got to move my paper though.
There, right there.
Okay, so that is a 2-page deal, 1-29 and 1-30. So give that some thought when you're at home and fill that out with some accurate numbers. Okay, now I'm on page 1-48 with the goal setting. 48, yes, 1-48. Give everyone a moment to catch up there. There should be a way to get. We're kind of at an ongoing technology thing here, so bear with us. Every once in a while you'll have a chance to get up and get some popcorn if you're at home.
I think you're good now.
Okay.
Why don't you
So
go
just
out
move.
a little bit,
Huh?
so you can get the whole paper on that one, it's so wide, the whole width.
Can hardly. I guess they don't need to read it anyway if they got it along. Okay. The heading here is business planning for your farm setting personal business goals. I guess a pretty important statement there is planning a business is like planning a trip. Individuals, you must know your destination. In other words, where you want to go. Determine their route, how you're going to get there, and your mode of transportation, which in farming would be, what tools are you going to use there, whether it's crops, cattle, custom feeding, off-farm income, whatever. Clearly defined goals are the critical element in developing a well-designed business strategy. We don't want to, they need to be specific, have a implementation date, a completion date, how we're going to do that, and obviously goals, just like everything else in farming, need to be adjustable and reasonable. Farmers specify where they want to go. Communication, I've wrote this several times in my little notes. This is so important with anything on the farm, whether it's, personal and business-wise. You need to know what the other people are feeling, what their goals are for the business. We'll get into that a little later here, but you might have known your brother all your life, work side by side, and when you start setting up business plans, it's very important to each other write down these types of things. Or your husband and wife also. You'll find out that your wife has different ideas than you, and obviously that's why what makes your marriage work is the compromising. Father-son. Dad might have just always assumed that son's got the same goals I do. Well, that's not necessarily the case. And our kind of said that about the benefits of setting goals. They're better able to explain their objectives to each other. Rather than looking across the table at dad on that kind of thing, you might want to have something jotted down the night before and then be able to present that in a meeting type setting. Written goals are more precise in their thoughts, like I just covered. They let you know about where you want to end up. It's not just, well, I think I might think I might try to get another quarter of land or something, or, well, I don't know, cows seem awful high, you know, write those types of things down, where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, just like the worksheet will say here after a bit. When you identify goals, yes, you answer questions about yourselves and your business. The Appendix A, we won't go there right now, but A12, 13, and 14, it has more on this topic. The time for accomplish goals, you know, there's short-term, long-term, intermediate. When I say short-term, that doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to get this other 40 acres planted before I go home tonight. Well, that's not really a business goal. That's a daily goal. And just for example, expectations like that can kind of set you up for, I was going to get that a little bit later, covered with the stress and stuff, but always be ready to adjust. You know, you're going to have breakdowns, stuff like that. You may be dang lucky to even get the planter back going that day, so, you know, be ready to go the next day. Okay, the next page here, 148, or excuse me, it'd be 141-49. They just kind of give some examples there of, I'll increase the farm income available for the family by so much every year or whatever. This was printed, I believe, in '05, so some of these things are going to be like the next column. The only debt I will have 15 years from now is what's needed to expand the business at that time. Well, if you're buying land or something, you're not going to make it cash flow in 15 years, I'm guessing. We'll be looking at more like 40-year amortizations. Some people consider their short-term goals to be performance standards, growth of the business, production goals, turnover and inventory and all that. The big thing is provide maximum efficiency out of what you have. You might have a goal, you write down, oh, okay, I've got 50 cows now, I want to have 100, or I want to have 70 next year. Well, if you don't have the resources to do that, and if the resources are going to cost, if it's not going to be feasible to do that, you know, maybe you've been better off minimizing your expense to maximize income on them 50 cows. We covered them characteristics a little bit. Needs to be specific, measurable. You got to zoom a little bit here. Covering up my focus deal. Obviously, this is all in your book too, so these are just kind of some discussion points. Challenging but realistic. That was something I wanted to stress on a little bit there. You know, just like the drought last year. You know, you might have had a goal of having this crop was going to be so good, and you were going to pay off this and maybe upgrade your pickup or tractor or something. Well, that probably got put on hold for a year. And don't be discouraged. I mean, you guys have been around farming enough that you got to be flexible, and things aren't going to work out every year on paper. The goal needs to address the key result area. This kind of talks about some savings plans and things like that. Want to save so much over the next 3 years for home remodeling. And, you know, you get to a point here, you'll want to be setting aside some money for your family's education and stuff. Those are all things that need to plan ahead for. Farmers of closely held businesses coordinate their personal goals with their business goals. So that's going to have to be a cooperative effort there of hey, do we need... I know my grandparents or uncles used to comment about, well, the barn, they built the barn before they built the house because the barn's what made the money. Well, I mean, that's kind of still true today somewhat, but, you know, we all have to have a balancing act of what's adequate and, you know, what is considered a luxury or what have you, depending on your resources. We've got some steps in the goal setting process. First of all, individuals should set and prioritize their goals. And second, married couples should share their individual goals with one another to identify common goals and recognize differences. We talked about that a little earlier. That's very important. Don't just always assume that your spouse thinks exactly like you, and there may very well be some good ideas to share there that are going to be helpful for your family, and also that pertains to brothers and uncles, like I just said, cousins. Okay, we'll go on to 50. Another person to fill in here, oh, that looks really good. Need a blank paper. Your goals should also be assessed against what others, such as your landlords, lenders, or investors, expect from the farm business. Landlords are not, and lenders are not our enemies. You are their customers, but also, I guess I run across some of my folks that they're scared to talk to their not scared, but and lenders too. You know, we want to just do as little as we can for what they are asking for. You know, drop in and say hello or mention how things are going, and don't be afraid to say, "Gosh, I lost a few calves in that last mud storm," but they need to know those kind of things. It gives them a feeling of where you're at and how your intensity is of your production. Same way with landlords. Instead of just sending them a check twice a year, you know, maybe I hear people give, you feel like you give them enough, yes, but hey, 5 to 10 pounds of hamburger or something, or just a Christmas card or whatever. I think that's a good way to. A lot of those landlords aren't after the most high dollar, which I know it seems like it, but they've taken an interest in you as a young person to continue on their farm. Effective communication, that's the very thing we keep stressing here, communication. These goal-setting meetings, I just like to stress, is that's something we need to plan, like, okay, Sunday or Monday we're going to say, how about we talk next week about, hey, give some thoughts to what we've been talking about of the family business or whatever. That's something we don't just, all of a sudden it's raining, let's lean against a pickup here and talk about our future. That's not a goal-setting meeting. It needs to be planned out, have a little agenda there. A little bit later here, we're going to talk about some people that can help you do that. And for certain, like we said, the goals of family members and co-owners do not need to, and very often will never be, identical. So that's the key to the word compromise, which seems to be pretty hard to do in our capital these days, no matter what level. You might come up with, in these goals, you're obviously going to discover some opportunities and places where people might be their strength and weakness, and you've never really known that before or haven't admitted it. And those will be the ways to create opportunities to work together. The thing I got here is, I haven't said that yet, but you guys may very well be here because you're required to, so to speak. Don't see that as, this is an educational experience. Use it. I guess I want you to have the positive and open mind to use all this information to the best of your ability. I know that somebody might have asked you to attend this to get the loan, whatever, and if it is something you feel is a burden on you, she was talking about $200,000, $300,000 limits. If you can get that loan for 2% less, that's $4,000 a year. Figure what your time's worth doing some of that extra paperwork and stuff, and just plain the ability to get the loan, whether it's a guarantee or what have you. FSA is there to help farmers. And remember, again, that's their job to help us. So if you have a question or clarification you need, pick up the phone, drop in there. That's what those people are hired for. Consider this kind of like many of our meetings, we go to our commodity groups and stuff. If you can listen to 10 ideas and take home 1 or 2, you've accomplished something. Our categories of goals. On the next page. We have obviously personal and business goals, but within them we need a short-term personal goal, long-term personals, and also with the business, short and long-term. And obviously you can define additional categories of each one. Revising the goals, something we said just a little bit ago, when situations change, whether you might have been going along really good there on your what you're going to do, set aside toward personal, and you might have a child get sick, you might break your arm and need to hire somebody to help you and things. Those are just setbacks on the way. I mean, you can't just beat yourself up over like this drought last year. Who could have foreseen that? What could you have done about it? The best thing to do is do our preparation with crop insurance and other ways like that. Worksheets, page 52 on 52 to 58 is where you'll find all those worksheets to help you do the goals. You get this slid up here a little bit. Another thing I want to point to a lot when you have goals that maybe aren't achieved, the situation that came up is probably not the issue that kept you from reaching that goal. It's how you reacted to the situation. Just for example, the drought this summer, which was more evident down here. Maybe that, rather than just down in the dumps, it all burned up and this and that. There was so much information out there for one thing, we were able to cut silage, or we got our crop insurance indemnity, but some guys were able to custom feed some cattle, take care of some cows. All those things you got to be proactive and seek out and not be afraid to change to keep surviving. There's a few things here in that appendix. I'm on A12 right now. If you'd want to refer to that. That is back a little bit in the book. I still hear pages flipping, so that's a good sign. Appendix, so it's towards the end, I believe. We'll go on here. 8 ways that could guarantee that you and your farm prosper. Know your production costs. That's something we really stress in our level 2 program, is helping you determine your production costs of each enterprise. So that's our base point for marketing and things like what we can pay for that feeder animal, and you got to know your costs to be able to set goals in that production area. Don't settle for average. Set yourself a goal of consistently selling in the upper 25%. I've heard that as the upper third lots of times. Try not to be a panic seller. I know we get caught up in this thinking it's going to go higher and higher, and then it'll drop a little bit, and you just want to, so many of them marketing workshops you see where people all of a sudden got clear down to the tank, and that's when everybody started selling because it's getting lower every day. Well, when it was getting higher every day, maybe we should have been satisfied with selling at that point. Expand cautiously. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Bigger won't necessarily be better. Maybe we can't manage if we have a diversified operation. If we take on another parcel land, are we going to be able to handle what cattle we have, or vice versa? Maybe we're better off taking care of the 100 cows instead of trying to add 120 on them same acres. Watch Uncle Sam. I just listened to David Cole the economics guy over at the Pork Congress last Friday. Big thing here is our crop insurance subsidy. I mean, that the government is helping us out tremendously on that. Dr. Cole also mentioned that the supply and demand, world markets and stuff, 80% of the market move is psychology. You know, so keep our eye on the media. Want to know, make yourself aware of what everybody's thinking of in the world. And that can be hard to do, but it's how they're reacting too. There again, it's all about reaction. Make yourself a 3-year plan. It'll make you think of where you are, where you want to be in the future, and how you're going to get there, just like we've first talked about. And to keep tabs on World Ag, we just mentioned that. The new technologies ahead, I'm sure a lot of you guys are grasping that as we speak. It's just amazing what we can do, and data information and transporting thing with all of our crops and field mapping, etc. Don't go it alone. That's a big thing down here. You all have had I guess people I can think of that helped me along the way, of course, was your family members, but also your 4-H leaders, your extension agents, your commodity group leaders. Just even right here, you're going to develop a little network here of some common things you guys may have, and over lunch or something, you may share some ideas of, hey, I never thought of that, or hey, I put that in my cornstalk bales to make them eat it better, or whatever. So that's definitely a good place to get more information. This is a little bit more. I'm on page A13 now. That gets into a little bit about ideas you can use and stuff, but the one I got outlined here is the 12 characteristics of farmers who are consistently profitable. They know their actual costs. They know how to control costs. They keep accurate financial and production records to show them where they're headed. These are all points we do in our Level 2 program. We help you do that. They approach enterprises as profit margins, not asset accumulators. That's kind of what I've been talking about, the managing the profit of what you have versus adding those other cows or acres. They maintain high production volumes. They use economics of scale. Recognize your weaknesses as financial experts and develop reliable sources in this critical area. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what I just mentioned about the mentors and developing networks. Keep their capital structure in the right balance. Don't tolerate assets that don't produce. I see that sometimes with some of this expensive equipment. Maybe you can coordinate, do something with a neighbor or a relative and you may not be able to do your field the exact day that you think you needed it to, but it's all for the good of the common goal. There's so many of this machinery that I'm just thinking of, like a land roller, silage cutter. That comes to mind right away, the things that are kind of a short-term use that either you can rent or own together, manure spreaders, etc. They keep risk under control and stress to a minimum. That is highlighted. I will, as you can see, I've alluded a lot to some of my own experiences. Stress can overwhelm you if you let it. You need to prepare yourself and be reasonable in your expectations. That's a huge part of goals and having yourself satisfied. I know they plan ahead, develop realistic goals, like I say. Some of these projects, just for example of that, I know, whether it's power washing your hog barn or working a set of cattle that you know they're going to be a mess getting in or whatever, and just kind of think to yourself of, it's as you get up in the morning, oh man, this is going to be horrible today. It's not going to work or whatever. Well, then if anything better than that will be a positive. It won't be as bad as you thought. So if you go in there expecting to have problems, a few problems, and chances are you've prepared for that potential. I'm not going to read you this poem entirely. I'm going to say that for the end, 59. Your homework for this section is 1-60. Right right here. Be sure you put your name in there, the date. This is your goals for management of farm and home. I believe the online version may have a different form, as Chris was talking about, that you can fill out and email back, but it'll be similar to on the same topics. Oh, let me pull my other little paper back here. 59 would likely be on the other side of 60, wouldn't it? Nope, there we go. I'm not going to read you this poem, but I want you to take time and think of that. The journey of getting there, the main part is what I have circled here. I realized that from what he experienced here, I realized that there are always two goals. One is to get there, and the other is to enjoy the journey. Too much emphasis on one can ruin the other. That is so true about the enjoying the journey. So as you guys map out goals for yourself and your family, don't forget to enjoy it along the way. Any questions on some of the things I talked about? I know that seems kind of general and basic, but it's the idea of doing it. You know, do those written goals. Get it done. Set them aside and look at them each year. How far have you gotten towards accomplishing that? So with that, we covered the homework page, correct? Are we ready for our next going to lunch? Or any overview of what's going on now?